So we've got new rotor on with the bit, new brake pads. I'm getting ready to compress this. These are greased. We got some grease here. 5 minutes, I'll be done here. Slide around the other side. So today we're going to do an easy job. We're out here in the garage working on the Buick. We're going to do brakes and rotors on the front. Steve's already got all the lug nuts off the wheels. I'm in the process right now of jacking it up. I wanted to show you underneath. There's 2 easy places on this car to jack it up with. If you get underneath it here and you look right here, this is where the front motor mount goes to the subframe. That's a good place. Or back there where my jack's at, that's where the transmission mount goes to. I don't know if you call it subframe, cross brace, whatever. That's where I'm going to go. Like I said, Steve's already got lug nuts off of that wheel. He's taking the lug nuts off this wheel. We'll throw jack stands under it. I'll get to work. This should be easy. I'm gonna cut this in so it may look like it doesn't fit, but I got my pads and rotors at Napa. It was like half the price everywhere else. I checked AutoZone, O'Reilly in advance. The rotors were like half the price, the pads were like half the price. Here's your part number for your pads, PF8536X. Those are the Napa Proformer. They were labeled ceramic gold or whatever, but this is what it came with. These are your rotors, 488800746. Those are the premium. So there is a cheaper one below, but it was like $9 more to get the premium, and they're painted. The other one is not painted and it doesn't have the rust treatment, so pay the extra money and get these. But you can also get on Napa, and they offer like a bundle where you get 2 rotors and a set of pads. If you watch Napa, you can get a 25% off coupon like shipping, and it was cheaper to buy them individually than it was to get the thing, because with the combo you couldn't get the coupon, but if you bought them individually you can use a 20% off coupon and it made it cheaper. So just watch. So as you can see, it's up in the air. We left the jack under it. It's not on pressure. You're going to put jack stands under this car. Right here you can see this is where it comes back, and right here there's this little cutout that's specifically made for a jack or a jack stand to go onto. It's on both sides. If you're going to do the rear, there'll be one. See how it's cut out? That's where it should fit. Okay. Something to pay attention to is if you're doing rotors, that is a Torx bit, not a Phillips head. I was hoping the new rotors would, normally the new rotors come with that screw, but something I do, and I recommend, is when you get to this point, you take some form of lubricant or penetrating lubricant or WD-40 or whatever, and I spray in each, not only spray the bolt, but spray a little bit in each hole. That way it will get in behind the face of the rotor and kind of bust up some of that corrosion, maybe help bust it up. That way it's not stuck. We'll also take a mallet and just smack it, and you'll see all the corrosion come out. But if you spray this penetrating or any form of lubricant, I prefer penetrant, but you can use WD-40, any form of lubricant in behind there, it will help bust all that up and make it easier to come off. So we're going to start getting this loose, get that off, and get the rotor loose. This will be the only thing that's hard, is getting this Torx bit loose. That is a T30 bolt on the rotor. Steve's got both sides broke loose. It is the caliper appears to be for the pads a 14, and then the caliper bolt bracket is going to be a 22. I'm getting ready to find out. Oh, those are, got the hole all the way through. That's you didn't know what you grabbed, did you? No. That's a 20. Here's to be a 21 then, Steve. So like I said, you'll have 2 14s here and here. If you're just doing pads, it is a 14, yes. And then here and here, you'll have a 21. Boop. All right, Steve's going to try and find me a shorter one. I'm going to break the caliper bracket loose first. Just break it loose, and then take the caliper bolts and the pads loose next. So I got the 221s loose. I had to get a piece of pipe and cheat. I had Steve hold it. I put it on the handle. that me and him pushed down, it broke it loose. I did spray it with penetrating oil too. Those 221s, you got one there and one right there. They were super tight. I would say this is the first time this car's had brakes done. It's got like 90,000 miles on it. So I'd say those were still from the factory, so they were a little snug. I sprayed the other side penetrating oil, let it sit. So, all right, so I've got my 214s. You got one here and one here loose. So now what I'm gonna do, this should just, just wiggle it loose, all right? And I always set mine up here. Don't let it hang, okay? We'll get these pads out. Steve's got some grease. We've got new hardware too. You've got two pads. Something to pay attention to here is you will have an inner and an outer, and the difference is the squealer bar. So what we will do, pull these out. These pads don't look that bad, but I think the rotors are warped. All right, so the outer pad, the one on the outside, does not have a screamer bar. Those pads aren't too bad. I've seen a lot worse than that, haven't you, Steve?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I need a flathead, Steve. Will you grab me a flathead? You can take, if you're going to replace rotors, don't worry about it. But if you're just doing this and you're going to reuse your rotors, don't like stab at it. Just kind of keep it level. And you can go in between the pad and the rotor. What I'll do a lot is turn it sideways. And then you can kind of work it out. Okay, like I said, screamer bar. Screamer bar, so that'll go on the inside. So what I'm going to do now, you can either leave the bracket on and take these loose, take that loose, and re-grease everything. Or what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take it off, let Steve change these, put some grease on everything, and while he's doing that, I'll go ahead and change the caliper. Now that we got the bracket off and the Torx bolt out, caliper off. I'm sorry, I keep calling it caliper. It's a rotor. Pay attention when you put the rotor on, the screw hole.
Yep.
And the screw hole. So Steve put grease there where all the metal meets, and whenever I pushed it in, it squeezed some out the sides, and I took the grease that squeezed out and put it on here where the pads are meeting. So now I'm going to put this T30 back, put this back on, and then we will compress that, and then put the pads on, and we'll be done. Each side, if you take your time, counting getting the car up, jack stands, getting everything broke loose, everything, this should take you, I would say, 30 minutes a wheel, and that's taking your time, If you wanted to hustle, it'd be less than that. One other thing to do is make sure you take out your sliders. Liberally put grease on them. They will just pull out. Make sure when you pull them out, this little boot is attached in here, so make sure it comes off out here, and when it goes back in, make sure it goes back over the bolt. Yeah, see how it's seated? See how it's actually over the bolt. I've actually had these get little holes in them, and this caliper slide rust and seize in here, and I had to replace the whole bracket because it was either that or drill this out, and it was like 10 bucks to replace this. So, okay, so I got the pads back in. A little bit of a recommendation: put the top in and then push that in, because this piece wants to sag a little bit. So if you pin it up, this one will actually, as you push, it will push down. What else I did was when I put it in, as you can see, it squeezed some grease out. I wiped all the excess grease off, inside and outside. Like I said, remember, screamer bars on the inside. So we've got new rotor on, with the bit, new brake pads. I'm getting ready to compress this. These are greased. We got some grease here. 5 minutes, I'll be done here. Slide around the other side. Everything is, that's tight. Those two are tight. Those two are tight. Steve's putting the lug nuts on that side. I'll throw the wheel on this side. Put the lug nuts on. Jack it up. Jack stands out. Throw it down the road a little bit. We'll be done.